Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. Welcome back to our Week 6 NFL predictions video. We're going to go over every single game. We're going to break them all down, break down these teams, break down the matchups, and try to predict the outcome for every one of our Week 6 games. Who's going to win, who's going to lose, what the final score will be, and we'll also look at our money lines, spreads, and the over-unders as well. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, drop them below and I will respond. Every week we go over every NFL game, and we also do the same thing for every single college football game as well. If you love football, hit that like button, subscribe so you can follow along with us. Like I said, Week 5 is in the books. We're moving on to the Week 6 matchups. We have some really good games coming up this weekend, especially Commanders, Ravens. I cannot wait for that game. But let's get started running through these matchups. The very first one we have on Prime at 8:15, the 2-3 San Francisco 49ers. They'll be playing the 3-2 Seattle Seahawks. Right now, the 49ers have a 61.7% chance to win this game. They are the favorites, 3.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 47.5. Both teams are coming off of surprising losses this past weekend. 49ers, they were favored. They went down to the Cardinals. Seahawks, they were favored, and they went down to the Giants. That was a pretty surprising game there. But as of right now, both teams are kind of in very similar situations. They both started out kind of hot. San Francisco probably, when healthy, they've been battling a lot of injuries, but when healthy, they have the best top-to-bottom roster in the entire NFL. They have Brock Purdy, they have Christian McCaffrey, Mason, Jennings, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, an extremely good offensive roster, but they've been banged up. Debo's back. Kittle's still banged up as of right now. McCaffrey is going to be out for a while, but Brock Purdy, he had two pretty good games, but he's had a lot of turnovers. They need to cut down on the turnovers, but it's the same things for the Seahawks. So the Seahawks did start out the season 3-0, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, but they're 0-2 their last 2 weeks. They want to get things back on track. They don't want to drop the 500. 49ers, they don't want to drop to 2-4. This team went to the Super Bowl last year. They're trying to get back to the Super Bowl right now. If they drop 2-4, that's a pretty high mountain that they'd have to climb. Looking at the two teams, the 49ers average 25.2. They throw for 263.4. They run for 144, and they're giving up 21.2 points per game. This team last season had a top 3 offense, top 3 defense. Not so much this season. For Seattle, they average 24.4. They're throwing for 270.8. They're running for 105.4. A solid defense, giving up 22.8. I have this game being very close. This one could go either way, but I'm going to go with the 49ers getting things back on track this week, winning this one in a close one, 24-20. The next games will be our Sunday matchups. The first one kicking things off at 9:30 a.m., our NFL London game. There's going to be the 1-4 Jacksonville Jaguars coming off of their first win of the season versus the Colts. They'll be playing the 3-2 Chicago Bears, who have gotten hot offensively recently. As of right now, the Jags play in London every single season. They are very used to it, but when you travel across the world, anything can happen. The games get pretty weird there. The Bears have a 59% chance to win this game. They are the Vegas favorites, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. The Jags finally got the weight off their shoulder. They got their first win. The thing for them is, can they keep that momentum going? Right now, they're averaging 19.4 per game, throwing for 201.6, running for 126.2. But it's their defense that has just been awful this season. They're giving up 28.6 points a game, 287.8 yards through the air. They have an awful secondary. Rush defense isn't too bad. They're giving up 105.6, but it's that secondary. When you play the Jags, there's going to be major opportunities vertically pushing the ball down the field. You found that out with the Colts. Flacco was having a field day throwing 40-yard bombs the whole game. There's going to be opportunities for the Bears to push the ball down the field, and they definitely have the weapon to do that. The Jags, they have Trevor Lawrence, they have Bigby, they have Etienne, they have Thomas Jr., who's having a great season right now. They have Kirk. Looking at Chicago, since their week 1, Caleb Williams had 93 yards. I said every week he's going to continue to get better as long as the offensive line holds up. He was the most sacked, most pressured quarterback through the first 3 weeks. They've gotten that under control. They have to keep the offensive line performing well. If he has time, he can make decisions. They have a lot of weapons. Swift, Moore, Odunze, Cole, they can run it, they can throw it, and Caleb Williams is really stepping into his role, continuing to progress and get better every week. That's why he was the number one overall pick. Right now, the Bears average 22.6. They throw for 191.8. They run for 95.4. But all they have to do to win this game is just keep vertically pushing the ball down the field. That's Jacksonville's weakness. That's where you need to attack them, and they have a solid defense, giving up 17 a game. But like I said, when you're across the world, anything can happen. These games get kind of weird. I'm going to go with the Bears winning this one in London, winning this one 23-17. And I'm going to go with the Bears winning this one in London, winning it 24-17, and Caleb Williams continuing to stay hot in the passing game. The next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 2-3 Arizona Cardinals coming off that win versus the 49ers. They'll be playing the 3-2 Green Bay Packers. Right now, they are starting to roll. Packers have a 61.7% chance to win this game. They are 5-point favorites. The over-under here is 49.5. I kind of flip-flop back and forth with this game. My earlier video, I actually had the Cardinals pulling the upset because I really think this game is a 50-50 matchup because both teams can score. Cardinals, they're hot right now, but the Packers pass offense, they can run the ball. All those things are running smoothly right now. Just can Jordan Love keep the turnovers down? I said last week Kyler Murray was due for a really good game, and he had a great game versus the 49ers. Very first possession, a 40-yard touchdown rush. Props to them. Can they continue that success versus the Packers? As of right now, the Cardinals are averaging 24 points a game. They're throwing for 181.6. They're running for 156.4. They're giving up 25.8. Their biggest issue is their pass rush, getting pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. If they can't get pressure on Jordan Love, he's going to have all day back there, and he's a mobile quarterback. If you can't bottle him up, he can scramble for first downs. Right now, Green Bay, they're averaging 25.6. They're throwing for 227.8. They're running for 165 yards. A solid defense right now, giving up 21.6 points per game. On the Cardinals, they have the offensive weapons to get into a shootout. They have Murray, Connor, Marvin Harrison Jr., but the Packers are also running hot right now. Love, Jacobs, Reed, multiple weapons here. The better defense, they're at home. At first, I had the Cardinals winning, but I finally saw the light. I'm going to go with Green Bay continuing to play great offensive football. As long as Jordan Love doesn't have any careless turnovers, I have Green Bay winning this one 26-23. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on CBS, the 2-3 Colts coming off of giving the Jacksonville Jaguars their first win of the season. They'll be playing the 1-3 Tennessee Titans. They'll be well rested, but can they get the offenses sorted out, especially Will Levis? Can they get him to stop making careless passers? As of right now, the Colts are the favorites on the road, 52.5-point favorites. 52.5% chance to win this game. And right now, the Colts are and the Colts have a 52.5% chance to win this game. They are 1-point favorites. This is a close one. This game is basically a pick 'em. The over-under is 42.5. Looking at the Colts last weekend, they did not lose because of Joe Flacco. So Joe Flacco is filling in for Anthony Richardson. Will he be back this week? We don't know right now. Will Jonathan Taylor be back this week? We don't know right now. If it's Flacco, if you give Flacco Jonathan Taylor, that's a major upgrade. He had a great game last weekend. That was without one of the best running back weapons in the country. If you add in Jonathan Taylor, the guy can catch it out the backfield. The guy can run. That's definitely going to help this Colts offense. Right now, the Colts average 23.8. They're throwing for 225.2. They're running for 125.2. And their defense is giving up 24.4 points a game. But they also have a lot of weaknesses. They give up a lot of pass yards, 162 per game. They give up a lot of rush yards, 157. So there is some opportunities there for the Titans to be able to move the ball. But that's the major issue. Can the Titans actually get first downs with a not-so-good defense that they'll be playing? Right now, the Titans average 19.8 points per game. They're only running for 111. They're only throwing for 145. Will Levis, the Colts give up twice that. You better have a good performance versus the Colts secondary. Right now, Tennessee's defense gives up 22.5 points a game. For the Colts, whether it's Richardson or Flacco, there's going to be opportunities to score, especially if the Titans keep going 3 and out. And if Jonathan Taylor plays, they have Pierce. For the Colts, there's Levis, Pollard, Ridley. They're going to try to keep the ball on the ground, but you can beat the Colts vertically or running the ball. But I'm going to go with Flacco probably playing this week. As of right now, we don't know that that's certain. But I have Flacco playing, and I have the Colts winning this one 27-16. The next matchup at 1 p.m., we have the 4-1 Houston Texans on the road playing the 1-4 New England Patriots, who are riding a 4-game losing streak. Right now, the Texans have a 68.9% chance to win this game. They are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 38.5. Vegas has this being a low-scoring game. Texans obviously coming off of that win versus the Bills. Solid win. They have some of the best skill talent in the NFL. Stroud, Mixon, when healthy, Collins, Diggs. They're averaging 20.4 per game. They're throwing one of the best passing teams in the country right now. They're throwing for 272.4. They're running for 104.2, and their defense is giving up 22.8 points a game for New England. They're the complete opposite. They have one of the worst, if not the worst, offense in the entire NFL right now. Jacoby Brissett, he's not supposed to be starting this Sunday. They're finally going with Drake May. I wouldn't be surprised if you see both guys play quarterback this Sunday. But Drake May, we haven't seen as much of him, so there's less tape on him. He hasn't shown too much to me, but the guy's a rookie. Give him the chance. He's their future. He definitely needs to see the field a lot more. You have him playing. You have a solid run game with Stevenson. The Patriots are going to try to take the pressure off of Drake May, keep the ball on the ground, keep it in Stevenson's hands. He's having a great season so far. But the Texans are going to try to force him into those third and longs, force Drake May to have to step up, make the big pass at the big moment. Right now, the Patriots are only averaging 12.4 points per game. That is awful. Throwing for 119.4. That's one of the worst passing yardages I've ever seen for a pro team. But a solid defense considering that they're on the field the whole game. They're only giving up 20.4 points a game. I have the Texans and their offensive skill talent going to New England, beating the Patriots 24-16. And our next matchup at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 3-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off of that loss, that shootout loss to the Falcons. They'll be playing the 2-3 New Orleans Saints, riding a 3-game losing streak. Right now, the Saints, a 54.2% chance to win this game, but it's the Bucs who are the favorite. 3.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 41.5. Tampa Bay, they showed a lot even though they lost. Yes, their defense was getting torched nonstop, especially in the second half, but they showed just how capable they are on the offensive side versus a pretty decent defense. Baker Mayfield having a great season, picking up right where he left off last season. He has 11 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, and only 2 picks. They have Irving, Godwin, Evans, a experienced veteran wide receiver core. They can move the ball. They can run it. They can throw it. They usually have a pretty good rush defense, usually a pretty good defensive line, but their defense isn't performing as well this season. Right now, they're averaging 25.4 points a game, good offense, and they're giving up 22.4 points per game. But they're giving up almost 259 passing yards. They have to work on getting pressure on the quarterback. And then there's the Saints. The Saints started out the season 2-0, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, and they were averaging 45.5 points a game. And then they came crashing down to earth. Their offense has been awful the last 3 straight weeks. Carr's banged up, might not even play this game. Kamara he's still having a pretty good season. But without Carr being able to push the ball vertically down the field, they're stacking that line. They're shutting the run game down. They have Shaheed. They have Olave. They don't have a bad roster by any means. They actually have a pretty good team, a pretty good defense. But when Carr was hot the first 2 weeks, this team was rolling. When he wasn't hot, this team just crashed and burned. But the big worry is, when do the Saints get things back on track? Because if they start clicking, they can match blow for blow with any team. But if they just continue to lie dormant here and their offense cannot get first downs, that's a major problem. I've given up hope on them. I've been thinking that they might, get 1 or 2 wins the last couple of weeks. They haven't, and they haven't improved in any way whatsoever. Now Carr's hurt. They're averaging 28 points a game. They're giving up 19.2. Still playing solid defense. Defense keeps you in games. But I have to go with Tampa Bay because of their offensive capabilities, winning this one 27-23. Our next matchup at 1 p.m. on Fox, the 1-4 Cleveland Browns. Outside of beating the Jags, they haven't done much of anything this season. They'll be playing the 2-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, the Eagles have a 69.5% chance to win this game. They are 9-point favorites. The over-under is 43.5. The Browns. The Browns' offense is awful, and I can put a lot of that blame easily on Deshaun Watson. The guy's awful. He has all the off-the-field stuff going on. That keeps piling up. More and more stuff comes out. He might not even finish this season playing quarterback, but his play on the field has been pathetic. In the last 2 years, very questionable decisions, cannot accurately push the ball down the field past 5 yards. He's not the guy he was 4 to 5 seasons ago. He makes awful decisions. He's a shell of what he was previously, and they don't have a bad team. They have Ford, Judy, Cooper. They have weapons there, but he cannot get them a first down, cannot do it under any circumstances. They actually have a top 10 defense, a very talented defense, but they're on the field the whole game. They get tired, wore out second half. Right now, the Browns average 15.8 points per game, only 142.8 passing yards, only 96.6 rushing yards. They're basically only averaging about 230 yards a game. That's bad. And their defense is giving up 24.2, but they're on the field the whole game, like I said. The Eagles, since the second half of last season, they've had a lot of turnover issues. That's continued into this season. They are rested, though, but you know how talented this team is, especially on offense. When they're rolling, they can score on anyone. They have Hurts. They have quite possibly the best running back in the country right now. They have Saquon Barkley. They have Dallas. They have Smith. They have A.J. Brown. When healthy, if we get the full wide receiver core on the field this game, they're definitely going to be lighting it up. Can the Browns keep up with them? Will the Browns defense be able to force turnovers, give Deshaun Watson the short field? I have the Eagles winning this one 27-17, and Watson running out of gas by the end of the first half. And this next game is, to me, the game of the weekend by far at 1 p.m. on CBS. This game's going to be so much fun to watch. We have the 4-1 Washington Commanders. Props to the Washington Commanders. They look like a completely rejuvenated team this season. 4-1. That's great. They'll be playing the 3-2 Baltimore Ravens, who are one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They are lighting it up on offense. The Ravens are at home. They have a 64.3% chance to win this game. They are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under here is 52.5. So we know what's driving the Washington Commanders right now. Their defense has been Swiss cheese the last few years, but they've shown when their offense can stay on the field, their defense actually isn't too bad. Right now, they have Jaden Daniels, by far the rookie of the year. He's closing in on 1,200 yards, and he's running for a lot of yards. He's a multiple-tool player. You don't want him to run the ball too much if he doesn't have to, but when he runs with purpose. They have Brian Robinson Jr., they have Terry. They have the weapons there. They're averaging 31 points a game. That's top 3 in the NFL. They're throwing for 214.2. They're running for 178.4. Very balanced offense, and their defense is giving up 23 points a game. But we know who the Ravens have. 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. To me, he's having one of his best, if not his best season right now. He has 1,200 yards passing. He's running everywhere. He's doing what he do. He dropped a lot of weight this year. He's fast. They're averaging 29.4 points a game. Look how balanced they are. 236.4 passing yards per game, 211.2 rushing yards per game. Defense is not what it was last season. Last season, they had a top 5 offense, top 5 defense. Defense has a lot of holes right now. They are giving up 25.2 points a game, 280.2 passing yards. The Commanders are going to have a lot of passing opportunities this game. Look for some big yards for Daniels, but a extremely good rush defense, if not the best rush defense in the NFL. They're only giving up 60.4 yards per game. So their rush defense is elite. Their passing defense is horrible. But as of right now, they were the number 1 rushing team in the NFL last season, and they added Derrick Henry in the offseason. He's closing in on 600 rushing yards. They have Lamar Jackson rushing, throwing the ball. They have Flowers, Andrews, Likely. Great play at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. This team is built. I have the Ravens winning it 28-24. This game could turn into a shootout easily, and it could come down to whoever has the ball last. Either way, I have it being the Ravens who pull it off. Our next matchup is going to be a trench warfare game. This game is going to be kept on the ground, probably going to be low scoring, and you're going to see some really good defensive play at 4:05 p.m. on CBS. The 2-2 LA Chargers coming off the bye, fully rested, and they needed it because Justin Herbert was pretty banged up. They'll be playing the 3-2 Denver Broncos. The Broncos started out 0-2, looked like the worst team in the NFL. They've completely rebounded since then. Props to Sean Payton. Props to Bo Nix. Bo Nix's first 2 games in the NFL were awful. He's completely flipped the script, though. That's great. They're staying within his strengths, short, dink and dunk passes, roll the pocket out, stay mobile. It's worked. They're 3-0, and they have a great defense. Right now, the Chargers have a 54.4% chance to win this game. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under here is 35.5. The Chargers. Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but he hasn't really had to do anything this season. He's not throwing for too much. I think he's only, they're only averaging 136.0 passing yards per game. They don't need him to throw the ball. This is a Harbaugh-led team now. They're going to run. They're going to play special teams. They're going to play field position. They're going to keep the ball on the ground, suck up clock. But at least they know if they need a score, if they need to score quickly, they have a quarterback who can take them down the field like it's nothing. That's a nice luxury to have there. They're averaging 17 points a game, a top 5 defense giving up 12.5 points per game. And on the other side, Denver, they're averaging 19.2. These teams are basically the same team statistically wise, and they're only giving up 14.6 points a game, another top 5 defense. Like I said, this game is going to be decided in the trenches. Who wins the line of scrimmage? Both teams are pretty decent players. For the Chargers, Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, McConkey, and for Denver, obviously, Bo Nix, who's a rookie. He's probably due for a bad game. The Chargers want to make sure that happens on their watch with their defense. They have Sutton. I have the Chargers winning this one, 23-16, and finally ending Denver's winning streak at 3 games. The next game at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers coming off of that close loss to the Cowboys. They'll be playing the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are kind of a tough team because they're not really good at any one specific thing. You are trying to find a strength they have, and they just honestly don't have it. This is not a very deep roster. Looking at Pittsburgh, we know who they are. They run the ball. They play great defense under Mike Tomlin. Defense travels. They just have to get the offense going first half so that the defense isn't tired by the second half. That's what happened versus the Cowboys. As of right now, Russell Wilson could potentially see some snaps. Don't do it, Tomlin. Fields has the higher ceiling right now. Russell Wilson, he just doesn't have it anymore. Keep Fields on the field. He can throw. He can run it. He completely changes the game. He didn't have a great game versus the Cowboys, but there's still a high talent ceiling there. They have Harris. They have Pickens, and they play solid defense. Right now, they're averaging 18.4 points a game. They're only giving up 14.6 points a game. A top 5 defense on the road versus the Raiders, to where, like I said, we just can't put our finger on anything that they necessarily do well. Right now, they're averaging 19.2 points a game, throwing for 213, running for 84, and a pretty bad defense giving up 26.2 points per game, 201.4 through the air, 131.8 on the ground. They don't have bad defensive players, but it just hasn't all come together. As of right now, we don't even know if Gardner Minshew will be starting at the quarterback position. That's up in the air. That's the first red flag. That's the first question mark. They have White. They have Bowers. Adams is probably never going to suit out for the Raiders, so I just kind of have to count him out. I have the Steelers winning this one, 23-13. We know who the Steelers are. They're going to play defense. They're going to run the ball. That's going to travel to Las Vegas. We don't even know what the team might look like come Sunday. Our next game at 4:25 p.m. on Fox, we have a revenge game from last season. The 3-1 Detroit Lions, fully rested right now. They'll be playing the 3-2 Dallas Cowboys coming off of that win versus the Steelers. Right now, the Lions have a 57.2% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 52.5. I can see this game going either way. This is a revenge game. These teams do not like one another. Dallas played a lot better versus the Steelers. The defense is slowly starting to get better. They were giving up 30 points a game. They've actually gotten that down to 24.2. That's not great, but it's baby steps. Slowly getting better. They are at home. It's hard to beat the Cowboys in Jerry World, but Detroit's a great team. This is a team that has playoff aspirations, Super Bowl aspirations. Last season, they had a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and they have the same thing this season. Right now, they're averaging 26 a game, throwing for 246, running for 151, and their defense is giving up 20.5 points a game. They have one of the best offensive rosters. Goff, Gibbs, Montgomery, Williams, St. Brown, multiple ways that they can beat you. Dallas, they don't have as deep of a roster as they've had previous seasons. Dak Prescott, he's closing in on 1,500 yards. He's not having a bad passing season. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. They're averaging 23.4 points a game, throwing for 271.6. That's great, but you need to get that down. You need to get a run game going. They're only running for 82 yards per game. That used to be the Cowboys' strength, was their offensive line and their run game. The offensive line has questions now, and they can't run the ball. 5 games in, you have Dowdle, who's the leading rusher, with 221 yards per game. Basically getting 40-something yards per game as the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, their leading rusher. That's not going to cut it. They need to get a running back. They need to get a run game going. You're not going to beat these good teams running for 82 yards per game, and their defense is giving up 24.2. I had the Lions winning this one, 27-24, but I think this game's going to be close, and I think this game could go either way. I have the Lions winning on the road, but I would not be surprised at all if Dallas won it 27-24. But as of right now, I'm going to go with the Lions. And our next one at 4:25 p.m. on Fox, these 3-2 Atlanta Falcons coming off that win versus the Bucs. They'll be playing the 1-4 Carolina Panthers. The Panthers last season were the worst team in the NFL. This year, again, they might be the worst team in the NFL. Right now, the Falcons have a 62% chance to win this game. They are 6-point favorites here on the road. Over-under is 47.5. Let's just make this very simple. Falcons have one of the deepest offensive rosters. You have Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Algiers, London, Mooney, Kyle Pitts, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. They're all elite. They can beat you multiple ways. I said after week 1, do not panic about Kirk Cousins. He was very rusty, did not play much at all last season. New team, new scheme. It's going to take him a couple weeks, and they have hit the ground running. This team is throwing elite right now. They're averaging 22.2 points per game, throwing for 260.6, running for 97. Their defense is giving up 23. But the Panthers just don't have the offense to be able to get into any type of shootout. They need to stop teams with their defense, but their defense is atrocious, probably the worst in the NFL. Right now, the Panthers, they average 16.6 points a game. That's really bad. And they're giving up 33 points a game. That does not bode well for an offense right now that's clicking on all cylinders. They have Dalton filling in for Bryce Young since he's been benched. Hubbard is not having a bad season at all, especially since he's basically the only weapon they have. They are teeing off on him, focusing on him, but he's still getting his yards. Props to him for that. The Falcons just have way too much firepower here. I have them winning this one 30-17. The next game at 8:20 p.m. on NBC, 1-4 Cincinnati Bengals. They almost had another win, and in typical 2024 Bengals fashion, they choked it away. They'll be playing the 2-3 New York Giants. Right now, the Bengals have a 60.6% chance to win this game. They are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 42.5. We know the Bengals have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They are loaded with stars. Burrow, Brown, Chase, Higgins. They can run it. They can throw it. They're averaging 28 points a game. They're having no problem moving the ball, but their defense is giving up point for point. When they score, they give up a touchdown. Right now, they're averaging 28 points a game, 263 through the air, 96 on the ground, but their defense is giving up 29 points a game. They got to get that solved. Burrow had a great game this past Sunday, had 5 passing touchdowns. They still lost it. They had the big lead. They coughed it up. They'll be playing the Giants, who had that great win versus Seattle. Props to them. Even banged up, Singletary out, Neighbors out. They still won the game. They're averaging 17.8. I'm not fully bought in yet. They have a pretty good defense, but I don't trust Daniel Jones. I still don't buy it. They are giving up 20.8 points a game. But the Giants win these games that they're not supposed to win. That's just the way things work. But the Bengals, they got to get one at some point, right? I have the Bengals winning this one in a closer one, 24-20. Our next matchup, the Monday night game on ESPN at 8:15. The 3-2 Buffalo Bills riding a 2-game losing streak. They'll be playing the 2-3 New York Jets. The in-state rivalry here. The Bills have a 54.9% chance to win this game. And the Jets just fired Saleh, so now they're leaderless. And the Bills have they are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 40.5. The Bills, they've had a couple of issues the last 2 weeks. They have not been playing solid. Josh Allen, we know what he plays when he's hot. The guy can light it up. He can throw. He can run. He has yet to throw an interception so far this season. He's not having a bad year at all, but we always got too much Josh Allen to where we wanted them to find someone else to kind of carry some of that burden. And honestly, right now, I don't think we're getting enough Josh Allen. I think he needs to step up and take control of some of these games. And it's kind of hard to say that because we were always asking him to do less. He was doing too much. But now I think the offense is doing too little. Right now, the Bills, they average 28.4 points a game. They're throwing for 181.6. They're running for 118.2. Solid defense, still giving up 21.2 points a game, but they do give up a lot of yards on the ground. That's their biggest weakness. They're giving up 144 yards on the ground. The Jets, they almost beat the Vikings. That game was close, but there was a lot of turnover, especially I think Rodgers had three picks. Right now, they're averaging 18.6, throwing for 206.2, running for 80.4, and their defense is giving up 17 points a game. They have a top 10 defense, a very talented defense. Salah being gone, to me, I was actually going to go with the Jets to win this game. I was thinking that they were going to get the upset. I thought that it'd be close, like a 23-20, 24-20. Rodgers is due for a big game. The Jets are due to get a win. The Bills are kind of spiraling right now, but when they fired Salah this morning, I was like, I don't think that I can go with the Jets now because they just fired their coach. That's turmoil. They can still win it, but does that mess up the game plan? Thankfully for them, they still have a experienced veteran quarterback. But that was enough to me to where I kind of had to lean towards the Bills. We know what they have coming. We don't know as much with the Jets right now because they just literally fired their coach mid-season for some reason. I have the Bills winning this one now, 24-20. So that's our breakdown. That's our predictions for Week 6 of the NFL football season for our 2024 season. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, drop them below and I will respond.